When we meet other Christians, one of the most common questions is, who is your pastor? What would you think if someone responded, my pastor is Jesus? Many Christians would assume such a Christian is autonomous, a lone ranger, unhealthy, and not rightly connected to the church. Yet Jesus is my pastor is the most biblical answer possible. In Ezekiel 34, God rebuked the pastors of Israel who abused God's flock and failed to care for them. And then he said, I will remove those pastors and give them one pastor, my servant David, and I myself will rescue them. This was written hundreds of years after King David lived. It was a prophecy of Jesus, of the line of David. This is why Jesus said in John chapter 10, I am the good shepherd. Remember, shepherd and pastor are the same word in Greek and in most other languages. The New Testament uses the Greek noun poimen for pastor only once in the New Testament when referring to church leaders, but it is plural. It is not, the pastor of this church. But the New Testament uses the singular noun poimen multiple times to refer to Jesus himself. The New Testament does use the verb to pastor a few times, describing the function of elders and bishops in the church. I believe that the words pastor and bishop and elder are interchangeable and describe the same role in the New Testament. Many scholars agree with me. Notice then that the New Testament does not use the language of the pastor of this church. It describes multiple pastors. God gives pastors to the church, but the biblical role of pastors is shared by several leaders in the church, and it is secondary to the role of Jesus himself. It is vital to understand the new covenant that God has now given his people one pastor, Jesus himself. The primary role of pastoring belongs to Jesus, and only Jesus has the honor of the singular title, my pastor. When Christians think something is wrong with saying, my pastor is Jesus, it reveals that they have denied Jesus Christ his rightful place in the church and in the life of the believer. Should the rightful role of Jesus Christ in the church be recognized and honored? Recognizing that Jesus is my pastor does not make a Christian unstable and liable to error. On the contrary, many Christians have fallen into error, fallen out of Christian fellowship, or even fallen away from the faith because they built their foundation on a pastor other than Jesus himself. Recognizing that Jesus is my pastor does not mean a Christian does not have leaders in the church helping him to grow. It just means the primary role of pastoring belongs to Jesus himself, and we know that church leaders often fail, but Jesus will never fail us. Next time someone asks who your pastor is, tell them, my pastor is Jesus. Use biblical language even if it offends the religious traditions of some people. You'll be a healthier and more stable Christian if you talk biblically and make a point of honoring the role Jesus Christ himself plays in your life. You'll also help other Christians to grow in Christ as your conversation challenges unhealthy religious traditions. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback in the comments. Subscribe for Christian content that challenges religious traditions and inspires you to take hold of all the inheritance God has for you in Christ.